Yeah, buddy, that's a dirt track thing. 3/8 to the little bull rings. Yeah, buddy, that's a dirt track thing. Waffle House with the dirt track queen. Yeah, now that's a dirt track thing. Roll through the pit gate, pit pass paid. Bubba done called, said he got a spot saved. Lil Dave said that he drew a 35. Probably gonna put him third row inside. Hey, it's still sloppy on the bottom. Hit him on the high side, I guarantee you got him. I'm like, dude, I'm on the outside pole. Looking like another W for K-Mo. All cars to pack the track. Better see mud or you're starting in the back. I don't think so, lady. The chrome arrows too clean for y'all, baby. Call my heat to the stage and lane. Turning them heads when they hear my name. Everybody knows that I came to win. As I say a little prayer and let the show begin. Wide open when the lights turn green. Yeah, buddy, that's a dirt track thing. Throwing mud, but it looks so clean. Yeah, buddy, that's a dirt track thing. 3/8 to the little bull rings. Yeah, buddy, that's a dirt track thing. Waffle House with the dirt track queen. Yeah, now that's a dirt track. Brand new lift, brand new shop. Brand new springs, brand new shocks. Fresh new motor getting picked up today. Lied to your wife about the price that you paid. Boy, I got it made. Ain't nobody flyer. Spent my last 100 on some good used tires. Tweaked on the chassis, made it a little lighter. Spacer on the left rear, cause I like them tighter. And everybody gets mad when they wreck bad. Dude, you hit everything but the tech pad. Hey, speaking of the tech pad, anybody know what they're checking? They threw a yellow when he wasn't even spinning yet. They'll be talking about that on the internet. Pit lizards, I have to admit it, I like it when you got a little red percentage. Wide open when the lights turn green. Yeah, buddy, that's a dirt track thing. Throwing mud, but it looks so clean. Yeah, buddy, that's a dirt track thing. 3/8 to the little bull rings. Yeah, buddy, that's a dirt track thing. Waffle House with the dirt track queen. Yeah, now that's a dirt track thing. Look, it don't really matter what you got. Sprint car, late model, or factory stock. Limited, modified, dwarf cars and midgets. Even the mini sprint guys can come and kick it. Cause this is what we do to unwind. We've seen Days of Thunder 1,000 times. So thank all your sponsors and wave to the haters. Crank up the song at the enclosed trailer. Crack you a cold one and put on a smile. If we're talking about racing, we're gonna talk for a while. Hey, your car's pretty fast, but next week, I'm coming for that ass. Some call us white trash and don't show us respect till they come out to the track and sit back and reflect. Cause you ain't gotta be a hillbilly or a redneck to be in victory lane holding up the big check. Wide open when the lights turn green. Yeah, buddy, that's a dirt track thing. Throwing mud, but it looks so clean. Yeah, buddy, that's
Oh yeah, it's a dirt track thing tonight from the Moxie Meat Promotion Studio. Man, I had to change it up a little bit. We're having a little bit of fun out here in the studio. In the house tonight, there's 4 of the Moxie crew. We've got Gary, Nina, and Dave riding with me tonight in the studio. For those that haven't heard, we're going to talk about it. Sandy will not be on the show tonight. Maybe not next week or the next couple of weeks. She is laid up from injuries sustained in a racing accident. Pretty brutal wreck out here. She was running some pretty wicked lap times in a new kart and looking good. And a young driver that's not young. I say young as track time goes. Rookie driver. Got a little sideways in turn 2 and ran down the bank and clipped her in the right rear, turned her kart sideways and sent her for a ride down the backstretch that a lot of people are still talking about. Mm-hmm. It was ugly. Dave and I were out there. We had the video camera going and actually captured the wreck on video. And we've looked at it numerous times and have analyzed it. And honestly, Sandy did nothing wrong. She was actually displaying patience, trying to lap this driver when, like I said, the driver got sideways in turn 2, ran down the hill, clipped her in the right rear, sent her for a ride.
Lapping him the 4th time.
Right, lapping him for the 4th time. I mean, she was, like I said, she was on a new kart that was just bad fast. She was really laying down some lap times that were, impressive by all means. It was cool. It was cool up until that happened. She ran about 40 laps prior to the accident. When she got turned sideways, the car started to scrub off some speed, but as tacky as the track was, as she was slowing down, it grabbed a hold of the car and did a pretty violent flip. Cart landed on top of her, And when I got to her, and you guys, I'm not gonna lie to you. I've seen this wreck before in karting. I've been in this wreck in karting, and you get up and you flip the cart over, you assess the damage, you go back to the pit area and you fix the cart. I run over, grab the car, flip it off her, and in her eyes are like golf balls. She was gasping for air. And I thought, okay, knock the wind out of her. So I said, Sandy, just calm down. Just calm down. Let's take a minute to get your breath. Don't panic. You got a lot of adrenaline going. I talk her down, right? Trying to keep calm. And she says, no, listen, you don't understand what's going on here. I said, she's telling me, I have broken ribs. I have a dislocated shoulder. And she goes, my sternum's broke. I said, Sandy, no, it's not. I said, it's just adrenaline. You're panicking. I said, just settle down. And we laid there. She's on the ground for 5 minutes. Got her up and started walking from the track over back to the house. And that's when I realized in the walk over, okay,
something's wrong.
We've got some serious damage here.
Yeah.
So we drive her out to the Staten Hospital, Santiam Hospital in Staten, and we walk in. It was like perfect timing. We walk in, and I said, someone needs to help my wife right now. And they look, and there was a doctor. The ER doctor on staff that night was walking around the corner. He looked at her, and he could see right away, okay, something's not right. He goes, come with me. So we straight back into a room. She wasn't there 5 minutes, and they've got ultrasounds going to make sure her internals weren't damaged. Unfortunately, there was some damage internally. So from this cart wreck, this is what she received. Fractured neck, broken sternum, 5 broken ribs, torn rotator cuff, bruised heart, and bruised lungs. Okay? Needless to say, I feel more than bad. And here I'm telling her, you're not hurt. It's just, she says, no, you don't understand. I am too hurt. Next time I will listen to my wife. I said that on the air. It was, and the thing about it was, and even Dave will tell you, we were standing right there. It really, truly wasn't what I would call a violent wreck by any racing standards. But what happened was as the car turned sideways, you guys have all seen the wreck.
Yeah.
Turned sideways and it scrubbed off speed. Instead of doing a nice smooth roll, it did this violent little hop and flip, and everything came down on top of her.
So all that momentum was the pressure of the cart and everything right on top of her.
Right on top of her left shoulder.
And she never said a bad word. That was impressive.
Not until we got to the hospital.
Yeah.
She saved them up.
She did, and she cashed that check into the hospital when they started doing stuff. But I will tell you, between Santiam and the ambulance drivers and the Salem Hospital Trauma Center, her medical team, outstanding. I mean, outstanding. They were on top of everything. I'll tell you, she was never in pain. They kept on top of her pain meds. I mean, her everything. They were just an incredible team, and I have nothing but good words to say about them. I had a good experience, kind of a neat deal. You guys saw the post I made. Those that have me on Facebook might have saw it. When I was 16, I was ranked #1 junior men's speed skater in the state of Oregon on roller skates. And I was in a really bad skating accident where I had actually hit my head. I got pushed. We were doing a demo. It wasn't an actual event, so I didn't have my helmet on. Go figure. And was pushed into a concrete wall. And on the clock, the radar gun, they had us radared at 28 miles an hour. And I hit the corner of this wall after I got pushed with my right side of my head. Had a blood clot on my brain. That was 3-4 inches long, probably half-inch wide. It was a pretty brutal deal. I was in ICU for 5 days. I was, out for the first 2.5. The doctor who worked on me, that was 29 years ago, you guys. The doctor who worked on me, Dr. Collada, actually came into Sandy's room.
That's so cool.
And him and I got to have a really, really good, I got to thank him. All those years I've thought about him, and I've thought, what he did for me, making the calls to truly save my life. I said, hey, Dr. Collada, I said, you probably don't remember me. And he says, have I worked on you? I said, yeah, a long time ago. And I said, I was the speed skater that came in. He says, oh, I remember that. And he says, wow. He goes, you look good. And I, told him about some of the other experiences I've had since that
Because you
night.
got a couple.
Yeah. What was funny was a week after I had that injury. No, I'm sorry. A week after I was released from the hospital, He tells me, listen, I was 16 years old. Summer had just started. Okay, this is really bad timing to have a blood clot in your brain, and for a doctor to tell a 16-year-old, young man to say, hey, listen, sit at home, don't do anything active. I'm like, are you kidding
For
me?
a sports person,
Yeah,
sit still.
an athlete,
Don't
a
move.
speed skater, football player, basketball player, all that stuff. And he says, no, your summer's basically over. You're going to be sitting around for the next 3 months dissolving this with this medication. And so I get out of the hospital. You guys, I'm not lying. A week after I'm released, I'm at the racetrack with a friend working on his, back then they call them J cars. Now they're called, it would be a street stock today. We race. We finish second in the main. We're driving home. And Bob says to me, he says, hey, do you want to stop at the shop and drop the car off, or just take it into town and bring it out in the morning? I said, you know what? It's on the way to the house. Let's just stop and do it now. So we stop at the shop, unload the car, drop the trailer. We're heading into Salem on Turner Road. We're in a beautiful, I'm talking beautiful, 66 Chevy pickup. This thing is just beautiful. And we're going into a corner, 55-mile-an-hour corner. I said, Bob, put it down low. Joking around, He starts to turn the truck into the oncoming lane, and all I hear him say is, oh, and the next thing I know, I'm waking up. I'm waking up in a truck with the cab is smashed down. The right front is bent up and tilted to the left. The bed is bent the opposite way. Both doors are open, and Bob's not in the truck. I've got a blood clot on my brain, okay? My face slammed into the steering wheel so hard it broke the steering wheel. I had a cut in my mouth. I sat up, and I couldn't even sit up all the way because the cab was smashed. The truck and I bounced over Bob. He's laying in the ditch. We're in a 12, 14 foot. You know what I'm talking about, that ditch out there. Yes. Yep. It's about 12, 14 feet deep, lower than the road. It's a big ditch.
It's huge. It's a car swallower.
It is. Well, it swallowed that truck with ease. His brother was behind us and watched it.
Oh.
4 flips. And by the grace of God, I didn't have my seatbelt on. I stayed in the truck.
That's the thing back then.
I had to go back and see Dr. Collada. A week after he's telling me now, just take it easy, don't do anything. Here I am a week later getting more MRIs and stuff. We talked about that, and he says, yeah, you were a pretty crazy kid. And then there's my wife in there for a go-kart racing wreck. And
things never change.
Yeah. He says, you guys live on the edge. And
yeah,
it was kind of a bittersweet deal, I guess. But all in all, Sandy is going to be okay, but it's going to be, we're looking at a few months of recovery. She's up. We're actually at the house. She's upstairs on the couch right now. She's been just relaxing and staying on top of her pain meds and watching some Netflix. And
but she's not much of a TV person anyway.
She's not. She absolutely is not. So we watched a couple documentaries today. That's the kind of stuff that we typically watch. But business on the phone and doing what she can when she's not sleeping. I just take it easy. Stop. Just stop.
She won't remember her business if she's
taking
care of.
I know it. So she's, you guys saw her. She's doing all right, all things considered.
Yeah.
It could have been a lot worse, but
yeah.
Man, I'm just glad that, glad she's okay. I've been beating myself up because I was just telling Dave, 3 laps prior to the accident, with this rookie driver on the track, I said, man, I got to get him off the track.
Yeah, we were talking about that.
But then I saw what was going on. And I made a change. I actually stopped the car, pulled off the spindle nut, took the clip out, pulled the nut off, pulled the whole right front tire off, took a couple spacers off the front. I said, Dave, put those spacers on the back, put the wheel back on, and put it back together. I held the car up in the air.
Yeah, with the guy still in it.
Yeah. And we make that on the track, and she's still out there flying around. She's backing it into the corner. I mean, she's looking good. Her lap times were good. I was impressed.
This was her first time on the track, though, right?
Yes,
yeah.
in that cart. And unfortunately, the changes that I made to that car, it made the car a lot better in handling, and it also made him a little bit braver. So I was beating myself up for the first couple of days about this, thinking, why didn't I just follow my gut and take him off the track?